I'm Ashton Addison from Blockwest Capital for Investment Pitch Media, and today on the Crypto Coin Show we have back with us Diego Di Tomasso, co-founder and COO of Over the Reality. Diego, welcome back to the show, and it's great to see you again.
Hi, it's always a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Likewise, and I'm always fascinated on your insights into VR and mixed reality and how that's progressing in Web3 and the Metaverse, which has a lot of strides to take to make it to mainstream adoption, but I feel like Over Reality is putting a good dent in that with the updates that your team is making in mixed reality. For those viewers who didn't see our first interview, and we've had a few interviews now as the company continues to grow, let's just start off with what is Over the Reality working on, and then we'll dive into everything mixed reality and Metaverse.
Yeah, so great. So very quick introduction on what we do. Basically, Over the Reality is a platform to augment the physical world, to extend the physical, let's say. So the way we do it is by tokenizing physical space. So we divided the world in hexagons, like the one that you see behind me. And basically those hexagons are geographic coordinates and are very similar to what happens in the web. So in the web, you have a web domain and you publish on the internet. In our case, you have a spatial domain and you basically edit the reality. So you add AR content to locations. So this is the base layer, the ownership layer that is similar to the web again. And this ownership is granted by NFTs. Over this layer, we have other two layers. So one is a mapping layer and one is the builder. So the mapping layer allows us to connect the content very precisely in space. Because usually if you do geolocalized augmented reality, you would use GPS. And GPS is fine for some use cases, like for example, Pokemon Go, where you don't need precision, and especially if you use it indoor, where the precision is quite good. But if you want to mix the physical and the virtual, you need to have something more precise, and especially also something that works indoor. So because of that, we built this system that is called Met to Earn. I will talk a little bit more about that later. And this allows you to locate assets in space precisely, both indoor and outdoor, going down to 20 centimeters accuracy. And finally, we have a builder, actually two kinds of builders. So a software that is used to upload content in the Metaverse. We have the first one is a no-coder software. So you just drag and drop 3D assets to our web builder and you edit, so you add that asset to the location. And if you can code in Unity, we also have a Unity SDK, so you can embed logics, you can even create the games inside of this AR metaverse. And finally, when you are in Over Metaverse, you are not there as a passive spectator, but you are there with your alter ego, with your avatar. And this avatar can be used to interact with other people, to have AR chats, so you can have telepresence with other people in your room, for example, or you can participate to events like the one that we just concluded yesterday with the Decentraland.
Very cool, and I'm fascinated on mixed reality because for me, at least in the current state of virtual reality, I don't foresee myself going into another world with a headset on my head, encapsulated for 8 hours plus, because I really like the real world that we live in. But to have a mixed reality where you can sort of augment on top of where you already are, I feel like that's a lot more added value because you get the best of both worlds. And I'm curious on, as your team has been working with mixed reality for quite a few years now, where do you see, when people hear about the Metaverse, they often think of the virtual reality. How important do you think mixed reality is into this equation to bring adoption into the Metaverse overall?
Yeah, of course, we are kind of biased in this direction, but what we believe is that AR will be a game changer for the adoption of what we call broadly the Metaverse. So, of course, as you mentioned, we are not gonna spend most of our day with some obtrusive Googles on our face, because at the end of the day, we live in the physical world. And so I think that and of course AR, I mean, is more usable in this direction because it can augment the world where you live. I can maybe talk with you and have some notifications on my visual field, but without being distracted or looking down to a mobile phone, for example. So what will be the real game changer is once we have smart glasses out there that are affordable and well designed so that people will actually want to use it. And I mean, what I believe is that we are very, very close to see those devices out there. And so going beyond what we use now for AR, that is smartphones. And the reason why I say that is because, of course, we are always following the industry. But lately, 3 weeks ago, it was a Wall Street Journal event, Wall Street Journal Tech Live in Laguna Beach. And I had the opportunity to speak with many tech leaders and entrepreneurs in this field. And I mean, there is a consensus on the fact that Apple will release the first version of smart glasses the next year, and probably will be passed through actually. So it's not really smart glasses, but we're going in that direction. But also I see many other technologies that are being developed right now. So for example, I had the opportunity to speak with the guys that are building Mojo contact lenses. So this is AR contact lenses. And I mean, I was mind blown about the development they already reached, because I knew about that program, but I thought that was like 5 to 10 years into the future. But it's not really like that. I mean, the contact lenses are already there. Of course, they're waiting for FDA approval. But to me, it's not anymore so clear if we will see first adoption with smart glasses or even with smart lenses. But anyway, I mean, there is everybody is researching on that direction. And I mean, the reason why is very clear. I mean, also, you know, if you think about it, right now, we stare at our phones on average between 6 hours per day. And actually having a device that can mix the reality, so can mix information with the physical world, will be much, much more better if you think about it. We will stop looking down and we will be heads up again, watching the world at an augmented version of the world. So that's why we dream and we decide to build over, because we think that an infrastructure to connect 3D assets to geographic location will be critical in the future that, I mean, is coming very, very, very fast to us.
That's incredible to hear about the contact lenses. And yeah, I feel like people have been discussing about the hardware, which is a barrier to adoption, being too clunky or, not good enough quality. And we've seen as early as the Google Glass, almost at its 10-year anniversary now, and we're still not really approaching something that's functional for multiple hours. So looking forward to seeing that. And you mentioned some of the use cases for the spatial domains and mixed reality. One of them, which I think is a huge catalyst for the growth of Web3 into other industries, is gaming and entertainment as well, as you just mentioned about the festival, which I'd love to dive into. But in terms of gaming and entertainment versus other use cases, like I feel like mixed reality could also work very well in the workforce or for education. Do you see the early use cases, or what do you see as the early use cases for this technology, in which industries will adopt it wholeheartedly first?
Yeah, I mean, what you mentioned, I mean, gaming is definitely the first use case, and the second is events, probably live events. So, and I mean, for AR, this is also true. If you think about that, the first use case of AR that comes to mind to you was a gaming event. It was a Pokemon Go. And so the gaming, I mean, the gamers are always, the early adopters of technologies. But extrapolating from this on what will be the future of AR and VR is kind of very difficult. The way that I see it, the way that I see the stage that we are right now with AR and the Metaverse in general, is like the web in the early 2000s. And for example, if you think about that, and you think about a successful company like Amazon, for example, the first use case of Amazon was like a low-hanging fruit. So let's distribute books. Let's take away the problem of the huge catalog that libraries need to maintain and put it digitally and just distribute it. I mean, that was a clear win, low-hanging fruit to actually take back then. But if you think about this, how big is it right now in the mix of revenues of Amazon, just the books? is basically probably, 2 to 3%. So I believe that the use cases that we see right now for the metaverse, AR and VR, both of them, is just really the top of the iceberg. And still is very difficult also to see what will be the others, because it's like, again, in the 2000s saying what will be the use cases. But in general, I guess that everything that we do now on the web will be done in an augmented version, in a virtual, AR or virtual reality version, where basically we have a better sense of the objects and the products we interact with instead of just interacting with text. But anyway, this is a very early estimate of what it's going to be.
Yeah, you're right there. I feel like it's hard to predict. When Amazon had just started selling books, you could picture, at the end of the day, they start selling everything, but those steps in between are hard to determine. What did they sell second and third, and sort of what were the industries that adopted on the way to getting everything. And I think there's a lot of industries that people might not expect that will probably adopt this mixed reality technology as well. And you mentioned at the beginning a comparison to like spatial domains to like web domains, and in the 90s when domains started getting popular, people could buy them. People used to think, well, I don't have a business selling something, so why would I need a website domain? And now, as the use cases have grown out, we're seeing that most people have a website domain, and we're also seeing Web3 domains come out, which have even more functionality. In terms of spatial domains, what do you see as sort of the main use cases for somebody who is thinking in that same line? Like, well, I don't have a business, or I'm not going to start an entertainment company. Why should I acquire a spatial domain?
Well, yeah, there can be many reasons. So one, of course, is a bet on the future. So, if people believe that the metaverse will be there and augmented reality will be an important part of that, of course, these spatial domains are a good, probably speculative bet. But on the other side, there are many reasons why people, for example, right now are buying these spatial domains to use it. So there is people that use it for art. They want to augment a physical place, showcase their art in a novel way. There's people that want to showcase products. There's people that want to create, for example, virtual events or augment physical events with AR assets. So the use cases are very broad. But another use case that we actually thinking about right now, so this is the interesting thing that also we are discovering what could be the use case, is also creating and showcasing a digital twin of the physical world. And so the fact that you can actually build, the big dream that what we have right now is to start building a decentralized version, a Web3 version of what is Google Maps. And if you think about that, there was also a great movie, I saw it a few months ago on Netflix. It was a series called The $1 Billion Code. And the number billion is quite interesting because this is the number of monthly active users that Google Maps had. So spatial information are so valuable. And so being able to connect spatial information to a spatial domain that you actually own is something that even us, as a company working in this business, are starting to understand only right now. And only because right now we have the opportunity to actually create these digital twins in a very easy way.
Wow. And obviously Google Maps and Google Earth would be a great use case for mixed reality as well. And as I mentioned earlier in the interview about Google Glass almost coming up on its 10-year anniversary, I personally haven't heard much about Google working in mixed reality and augmented reality. Do you know if these large FANG companies are following along with this technology and also experimenting with it in similar ways to what Over the Reality is doing?
Absolutely. No, yeah, they're definitely doing that. In fact, and this is also what actually gave us confidence and give us confidence on the importance of this work. So this is going to come. If you are in New York, for example, and you try to use Google Maps, It's not going to work because of the GPS problems, the signal problems, and the phone will ask you to point to the buildings. And so it will use computer vision, like we do, to actually locate you in space. So the 3D structure of the world is a very important piece of information that we will use more and more to actually augment the physical world. So we see some first examples right now, but they're definitely working on that. Microsoft is working on that. Niantic is working on that. So Web2 companies and big incumbents are working on this. So we believe that actually providing a Web3 alternative, so a different ownership model for this data to what this big corporation will provide is critical to maintain also an open access to this information, and not having just big gatekeepers that we already know to actually deliver the access to this metaverse. And also, I would say that, of course, we are crazy enough to launch a Web3 startup talking about AR and spatial domains, but we don't think actually that our goal is really, for example, to map the whole world or to map the streets. I mean, Google is good enough for that, and probably there's no way to outcompete them. But for example, for all that is indoor, so for the public buildings or malls or your house or whatever, I mean, they will not send their Google cars inside that. So also there is a space in that direction that is partly uncovered by Google. So even if we take away the Web3 proposition, that actually I think that is the more important, we will still remain with some space that can be covered very efficiently by a Web3 based community that is incentivized by tokens.
That's a great point, Diego. And myself being an early adopter and a gamer in the past, I actually did sort of help build, Niantic Labs game that they had built with mixed reality, which then actually turned into the Pokemon Go game. And I submitted a lot of areas through capturing them, and they went into the mixed reality game. I feel like, especially in public places, I think taking it in your home might be a little bit further down the road, but we see the Google car driving around the streets, updating in Google Maps, but like to have them actually walk into public malls and other buildings, I feel like outsourcing that and sort of tokenizing it or incentivizing it as they do so well to everyday people, to be able to capture the whole world inside every nook and cranny. I feel like that's something that they might do to take the next step.
Yeah, I mean, we never know what they will do. Let's say that, at least for now, we are in the position, to actually onboard a crowd of people that can do this kind of job. No, and in our case, I was mentioning before, like Pokemon Go, we have this first use case that we built on Over that is a treasure hunt game, so a play to earn game where people go around the world and collect tokens and NFTs from other projects. So far we had 140,000 people participating to this kind of treasure hunt. And so the idea is really to take this army of people and telling them, look, maybe you're playing because you're having fun, but probably you're also playing because you want to earn something. So we give you another job, another opportunity to actually earn in the metaverse by mapping locations. And when we say earn, there is two ways of earning this direction. First one, this program that we have that we call Map to Earn consists in the fact that people go in places, take pictures of these locations, and from these pictures we create a point cloud and also a digital twin of this location, so a 3D reconstruction of a location. And later on, I will share with you also some videos so you can have some visuals about what we can achieve right now. So in that case, people doing this activity, first of all, they generate an NFT that they own. So think about owning a piece of Google Maps. And it's the same. You map a location, since you did the job, you own the data on that location. And then, of course, we can incentivize you by buying from you that location, because maybe we want to have the ownership of the map of that location. But still, the base in here is this Web3 ethos. So you do an activity, you do this permissionless activity that is your job, your time, and your resources. And since you are doing that, you are creating the content, you automatically own it. And if you think about this, is a totally different way of how it works, for example, for the social media right now. You create the content in the social media and you own nothing about that content. So this is really what we think is important. So to create this new ecosystem to augment the world that is based on another ethos. So on an ethos that basically incentivizes the people because they own the content they create. Whether it is a map, so just going around on mapping, or maybe creating content. So maybe you are a 3D creator, you can actually own your creation through an NFT, but maybe you are not a creator, you cannot create 3D asset, but you still have a mobile phone probably in your pocket. So you can still participate, contributing in creating this ecosystem.
Very interesting, Diego. And how can people go about creating it? Is that already live, like on iPhones and Androids? They just take their phone and use an app, or where exactly are you at with that?
Yeah, so we are now in alpha. We have 300 users that are testing that. And basically, you just need a smartphone, so no LiDAR needed. So any smartphone with an RGB camera is enough, both Android and iOS. It's part of our app. So you just take out the phone, you will have a user interface that helps you in taking the pictures. Actually, it's like taking a movie, but in the background we are taking pictures. Then you upload these pictures and we crunch the data. We generate three outputs. So one is a point cloud. So if you're a creator, you will have an idea of what is the 3D structure of that location. So you want to, for example, have an avatar in front of a door, will be in front of that door that you see in the point cloud. Then we create what is called a neural radiance field, so a simulation of a flight through the location generated by your map. And finally, the third step is basically that we can actually also create a digital twin on that. So digital twin, it means that we have a 3D reconstruction with a location where you can move around. So basically you tokenize, you create a digital twin of the location by taking this map. And of course, once the location is mapped, also the localization over there will be very precise. So you will be able to publish content in AR very precisely. And we see right now we have, this great alpha tester that have been helping us to make this work, because it was quite complex technology. We've seen that people actually is even enjoying just using this tech only to create a flight through, for example. They want to showcase a location and they create a virtual drone flying the location just by taking some pictures. So there's many use cases that come out from this mapping activity that probably we do not even envision totally right now.
Very cool, Diego. Well, I'm looking forward to the next steps in the beta and getting involved as well myself, because I've done it in the past and it's actually quite fun to be able to customize the space however you'd like. So thank you so much for the insights into mixed reality and where it's at right now with the industry, what the big players are doing, how over the reality is progressing in this front. I would love to get those videos that you mentioned. I'll put those in the description box for the viewers as well. I'll also put the social links and any other updates that the team is working on and where they can find more about Over. And let's definitely follow up in the near future, in the next quarter and see how this technology is progressing.
Absolutely. So thank you very much for the opportunity again to be here.